MMA Mobsters again, of course, brought to you by our sponsors, cellsaviors.org, dimene.com, and grapplersclash.com. And of course, I'm always joined by the mathematical genius, the fight wizard, the guru, the oracle, Joshua Chauvin. Joshua is coming to us. You don't see him on screen because where he's at in a far off clandestine land doing research. He's not able
Yes.
to join us via video. I wish he could because the mountains would be amazing to see there. But Josh, how are things in Tajikistan?
Yeah, I didn't realize Pat Militech was my emergency contact power of attorney. And he's like, you know what? I see Chauvin's on the moon boots. He's even doing a little bit of walking without the crutches. I know what we're going to do for this last stage of recovery. Send him to Dagestan 2-3 months and forget. So I went home with Islam Makhachev and Khabib and Hasbullah, the little midget, and I'm finishing my recovery from a remote location.
He's going to come back a very scary human being. So we're excited
Yes.
about that. We're excited. So, all right, we got to get right into this. Let's talk about last week. You know, as it turns out, Josh, just how things work out, that, my signal was really bad last week. You had to do the show, basically, you and Lee, on your own. And, how'd you do last week? I'd like to know because I had no part in it.
Yeah, so thanks, Pat. Thanks for that, bud. Yeah, it was probably our worst card ever. I certainly not anyone's fault. We did all the things that we usually do, and we did them right. And
Sure.
one of our many things, is that four-digit favorites are free money. And for the first time since MMA Mobsters, a four-digit favorite lost completely. Miktek Oralbai completely ragdolling, smashing, lighting up his opponent, Jeremiah Wells. Jeremiah Wells kind of cooked him once, but Oralbai recovered fine, like those Eastern European guys do. Okay, if you want to make me a little dizzy, I'm going to put you on your butt and lay on top of you. Then you can't hit me anymore. He's clearly up 2 rounds, and Jeremiah Wells pulls off a ridiculous spinning back whatever that should have never connected. And yeah, I mean, that was bad, and it broke our insane streak of four-digit favorites. They're still hitting at like 96% or probably closer to 98%. So we got another four-digit favorite this week, not to bury the lead or rush things, but yeah, I'm gonna go right back to the well bet four-digit favorites. But yeah, as if that wasn't bad enough, it went from bad to worse. In the very next fight, same thing. Brahimaj had gone from an underdog to a good favorite. Absolutely smashes Magny in the first round and then wears himself out. That's just poor coaching, Pat. Why is your game plan wrestling if you know your guy can only wrestle for about 3 minutes and gas himself? That's just poor coaching. But yeah, it was just one after another. Abdur Malik as a minus 800 favorite looked awful. He should be embarrassed. His coaching staff should be embarrassed. Talked all that trash to really just quit. To Dustin Stoltzfus, who, no offense, is a below average UFC fighter. And then we had the two title fights, which I had a small lean on Islam, small lean on Jillian. But that certainly wasn't enough to make my money back. Listen, man, I made money on like the last 9 cards. I'm not worried about it. I did get a couple DMs from our viewers. They were nice. They were like, well, that wasn't fun. I was like, you're telling me. However much money you lost, MMA Mobsters family, I promise I lost more than you. The worst thing you can do, especially when you've been doing this professionally for so long, is be like, oh my God, I had a bad night. I'm going to completely change my whole process. That's not what I'm doing. And you live and you learn. I don't want to be arrogant, but I really can't point at a single thing that I did wrong or that I regret. Right back to the process. How does that sound?
Sure. I mean, things are going to happen, and that's just the way it is. And so, yeah, I was all set for last week's show, and I'm looking through my list here, and I I didn't do extremely well on my picks, but you know what's crazy?
What's that, bud?
I had Oralbai with an upset.
Well, Oralbai lost. You had Wells?
No, I mean I had Wells, yeah.
All right. Well, you've never. I trust you, but
I'm
that
joking.
what?
I'm totally joking with you.
That was good. I wish. Oh my God. We will have the video figured out next week. I wish you could have seen my face, but
I wanted to get
yeah,
you. I wanted to get you wound
no,
up.
you
All right.
did. No, you did.
So enough abuse, bro. Enough abuse. No more beating yourself up because normally you're hitting
And
it
I'll
out of the
just
park
and
all
I'll
the time.
just say, we missed Pat last week. It wasn't all Pat's fault. I'm having internet issues of my own. I'm not sure why. I've thrown a bunch of money at it, but these things happen, and I just think the biggest thing that I learned from this is to show patience and show grace and not say things you're going to regret. And we are still pumping shows out despite broken feet and forced vacations to Dagestan, and
There you
we're
go.
doing okay.
All right. Let's hit the news a little bit. Let's talk. You wanted to
Yes,
talk
sir.
about Michael Chiesa.
Yeah, first I just wanted to, sorry, we're on a little delay. I don't mean to interrupt you. First, I just wanted to say real quick, all jokes aside, I am walking with the help of boots, the help of crutches, and sometimes without. So it's very exciting. I just wanted to
Good.
say it's been a rough week or two getting off the old oxy, and Pat was really the only person who warned me about the dangers of oxy. And I just wanted to say thank you to him and thank you to the herb of the earth that kind of helps me wean off that. And how is oxy legal? Because there has to be a better option for pain management. I've been cold sweats, puking, pissed off for no reason. Why are we giving this drug?
I think you file a lawsuit with the makers of that particular oxy about the losses that you had last week because it obviously caused some problems.
It did not. I did everything that I usually do, but I could use that angle.
I'm trying to
Sure.
help you. All right, talk about Michael Chiesa, bro.
Yeah, I mean, this is similar to the Dean Thomas stuff we're going to talk about. It's similar to the Anthony Smith stuff that we've talked about. Pat and I rarely get on here and bash people, but there's a couple of people in the news for their own reasons. And they seem to all be getting suits and microphones and put on TV for some reason. Listen, Daniel Cormier, amazing hire. Michael Bisping, amazing hire. Nobody makes me laugh harder than those two guys. And obviously, you have the people more like me, the John Anicks and the Joe Rogans, and then you have the fighters like Pat. And yeah, I'm not a fan of Michael Chiesa on the mic. Yeah, he just doesn't add much to it, and he's incredibly arrogant for no reason. He never won a championship. He never even fought for a championship. His career was largely a disappointment. And he does do at the desk with Weidman, who I like, and he's just cringy. And I got the same vibe from Anthony Smith as an analyst. I got the same vibe from Dean Thomas. I'm not saying these guys are bad people. I just don't like listening to them break down fights, and I don't feel like they add anything to broadcast. So Mike Chiesa, not this week, but next week in Shanghai, is going to be on the broadcast team. I will likely be muted because I don't know. Yeah, I just and I'll just throw this to you. One of my friends, Cody Gibson, said on Twitter this week that old Chiesa is just the definition of a bully. He did something really stupid a few years ago where he got super drunk as a guest, as Amanda Nunez guest. No, I'm sorry, Juliana Pena's guest. When she beat Amanda Nunez. Massive upset. Chiesa drunk as hell, tries to run to the octagon, trips, face plants, is bleeding all over the place. Now security's dragging him out, and he's screaming in front of everyone, "Do you know who the fuck I am? Get off me, you bleepity bleepity bleep," words that I won't say on this show. Just, I don't know. I don't want to predict evil, but I don't think it's going to work. That's all.
Yeah, well, hopefully it does for his sake and all of that good stuff. And here's all I will say about broadcasters and play-by-play and the color guys. Play-by-play guys are seasoned, broadcasters. And when the experts, the sports veterans, the coaches are brought in as color guys, they're not necessarily educated about their role, and they tend to can stumble over the words of the play-by-play guy. They're supposed to, You're supposed to sit out, stay out of the play-by-play guy's way until he's done saying what he says, and then elaborate on that in ways of educational stuff for the people watching at home. My job is not to call the action and go huge right hand by Smith, and that's the play-by-play guy. He's there to tee me up to give the analytics and the education to the viewers so they become bigger fans. So there's no coaching going on, in my humble opinion, of the broadcast team over at the UFC, because none of them, for the most part, are ever doing that. And then when you watch play-by-plays, this is what you want to pay attention to, and hopefully some of the broadcasters hear this. When you're watching a show and then they put the replays up, listen to the play-by or the color commentator, the expert, that's telling you what you can already see. And if he's doing that, he's not helping anything. He's not helping you understand why it's happening, how it happened, what one guy did wrong for it to happen, or one guy did right for this situation to happen, this highlight to take place. So that's the education in broadcasting, the fundamentals that people need to follow, and that's not remotely being followed from my perspective. At least I spent a few years doing it, but so we'll see if they improve. Somebody's got to do some coaching over there and educate these guys what their roles are and what their jobs are. The play-by-play guys, like I said, are seasoned veterans. They are broadcasters, but the color guys have not been educated about how to do it, right?
That is so good, Pat. And I apologize. MMA Mobsters family. Apparently, I was echoing a bit. I think that's been fixed. I got a story for you, Pat, before we get into Dean Thomas. I've never told you this before. I might owe our boy Burmis an apology, because when you, me, and him did, I think, 3 separate caged aggression events, I thought that's what I did as an analyst. I thought, because that's what Joe Rogan does, that's what Cormier does, that's what Bisping does. They, if they're like in the middle of talking, they'll be like, "Oh man, he's down on the ground." I just was trying to be like the UFC guys, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and you, given your expertise, you've watched a million fights, you understand the odds, you understand the mathematical equations that go into making odds and all of those things. So, in a three-man booth, a chain of command, it would be the play-by-play guy first that screams all the exciting stuff. Then I give more of a breakdown of how it happened, why it happened, things like that. And then you can add in more of that on top of, hey, the odds makers had it this way and it's not going that way. What needs to change, and then you and I can, and Burmis is very educated as well. Then a conversation can start where people are going to enjoy listening to you and I and Burmis, for instance, where you come back with then something like, the odds are not reflecting the, so far what's going on in this fight. What does so and so need to do to change that, or whatever. And then we can have that banter that people like to hear and get educated by, right? So that's kind of how broadcasting is supposed to go anyway. But
absolutely, I wish I would have known that. I wish somebody would have told me that, but I know that for the future.
No, it's great. That's great. Okay, I want to talk about Din Thomas, because Sean Strickland went off. Sean Strickland went off on Din Thomas, and in my humble opinion, rightly so, because what Din Thomas did on air, live on air, to his fighter was pretty low shit. What are your thoughts?
It was very low, and I just gotta say, is Sean Strickland Pat Miletech's son that we don't know about? Because you two, he is the spitting image of you. I can see why you love him so much. So yeah, the Din Thomas thing was gross, and I'll give a really quick recap. If you follow MMA at all, you know what happened. Jillian Robinson is the sweetheart of MMA. She has never been in trouble. She has never said a cross word to anyone that we know of. She's an absolute sweetheart. She's quite the badass in the cage. She got her title shot. She didn't embarrass herself, Pat. She almost got choked out in the first round. Probably lost the first 3 rounds, won the last 2 rounds. So Mackenzie Dern beat her by a round. There's no shame in that. And then Dean Thomas, look at it from this way, folks, because most of you know what happened. You don't need me to tell you what happened. Imagine if I qualified for the Sports Betting World Championship in Las Vegas, which I have. Out of 100,000 people, only 100 go. So I'm there. Pat goes with me for some reason. We get to the top five, and then I finally bust out. So I got fifth place in this story. Pat immediately gets on a microphone and goes, "Man, I love Choke. I've taken him as far as he can go. I can't do this shit anymore." I'd immediately be on the phone with Pat. What the fuck? You talk to me about this. He has been her coach since she was 16 years old. They've known each other way longer than even you and I have. I would be so pissed. I would be like, you talk to me, dude. You don't get on front of a camera and throw me under the bus in front of the whole entire world. Jillian Robertson has every right to be pissed, and I'm not very like a cancel culture kind of dude. Fucked in Thomas. I mean, that was shameful and embarrassing.
Well, I'm glad that you have no filter. I can appreciate what you're saying 100%. And I would say this, that, I knew Din way back in the day when he and Jens Pulver fought. I think that was WEF or WEF or whatever it was. Din was a great fighter. All that. I don't know what's going on with Din. I saw a comedy act with him wearing like toddlers bibs and shit, and some pretty funky stuff. But ultimately, I think what Jillian Roberts needs is a new perspective and probably a new camp. Go find a new camp potentially, because she's gonna have a tough time moving forward in that camp, of course, after that. So maybe Din has taken her as far as he can. Maybe there's somebody else out there that can take her further, right? And the fact that she did win the last 2 rounds says a lot about her.
Yes,
so keep your chin up, kid, and keep going to Miss Roberts. And hey, you won the last 2 freaking rounds of that fight. You were there. Just took you a little while to warm up, apparently, but that's okay.
Chin up, Jillian. Chin up, Jillian Roberts.
Find somebody else. So, all right. Enough bad news. Let's talk about the good news to come, because we're going to knock it out of the park with this card, right?
We certainly are, and I'll just say very well said, Pat. As usual, I get all fired up, and Pat calms me down a little bit. Pat also has personal relationships with these people. I have personal relationships with some fighters. Pat's got relationships with most of them. So, like he said, he literally cornered Jens Pulver fighting Dean Thomas. I don't know, man. These things happen, and maybe I should have a little more empathy, because I never fought professionally, and there does seem to be a trend of fighters struggling with demons that other people maybe can't understand. I will say, just Anthony Smith, it seems like it was maybe just not that big of a deal, but he's still awful on TV. And even Dean Thomas, what was his job? John Anik would throw it to him a couple times a night. What do you got, Dean? Oh, if he punches him a couple more times, he might win the round. That was literal commentary. Added nothing to the broadcast. Pat Militech is fun to listen to. He is informative to listen to, and he cares about the product. I think a lot of these guys are just showing up for a paycheck. So I will offer up my UFC Hall of Fame co-host to any promotion, Coker's promotion coming up, and others. He does the work. He's fun. He's informative, and I'll listen to him over Dean Thomas, Anthony Smith, and Michael Chess. Fair enough.
Well, I appreciate that. It's kind of you. All right, let's move on to this card, brother. First fight on the card. Chanel Dyer versus Elise Reed, number 34 versus number 31 in the world. The overall records: Dyer 7-1, Elise Reed 8-5. What say you? I know where I'm kind of going. I don't know the odds yet of these fights. But
that's totally fine. I've
got people checked.
I can surprise you with the odds, and hopefully we got the echo issue fixed, and if not, we'll get it cleaned up.
No echo. There's no echo. You're good.
Yeah, Pat. About the only thing I got right was that these big female line movement steamers are finally starting to hit and almost be as reliable as the men. So good for you, because Chanel Dyer has soared from -600 to -900, and I see why. Elise Reed is, I believe, a Welsh wrestler, and that's about all she does. She is the Jordan Levitt of women's MMA. Great wrestler, zero striking and zero really attempt to get better at striking. Chanel Dyer's going to pick her apart. Chanel Dyer has very good striking and very good wrestling. This may even be the first time I have a female as Chosen Lock of the Week, because I love Chanel Dyer here. On some sports books, she's near that minus 1,000 territory. Keep in mind, whereas men's UFC minus 1,000 or higher favorites hit at about 97%. Despite the Orobai disaster last week, the women have been creeping up there. I ran the math recently. It's closer to about 70%. So maybe it's a little bit higher than that. I think it's like 80. So yeah, give me Chanel Dyer here. Let's put 3 units on her and get the card started off right.
All right. Yeah, I picked her as well. So good on you, buddy. All right. Moving on to Jackson McVeigh against Wes Schultz. Wes Schultz at 9-3 overall, 7-2 for McVeigh. Schultz has had a good career in the LFA so far, 4-1 before going into the UFC. And McVeigh sitting at 1-2 in the UFC. I mean, they haven't faced horribly tough opponents so far in their careers. So I don't know how you pick this.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to do with this fight, Pat. I am friends with Jackson McVeigh, so maybe a little biased. And I've told him that I think it could be a lot better than he is. His 1-2 UFC record reflects that. I think a confident Jackson McVeigh is a very good fighter. I just don't know where he's at for this. The line movement is doing a whole lot of nothing. We're at 185 opener to 175 now. Wes Schultz is decent. If Jackson McVeigh has his head right, I think he stomps him. McVeigh's going to be my lean. Let's put half of you.
Yeah, McVeigh's a slight leaner for me as well. So I'm with you on that one. I'm just looking forward to maybe one argument though in this broadcast. So we'll search for that here pretty soon.
I'll see what I can do.
It's coming up. It's coming up, bro. But so Gage Young against Dorsainville. Stan Dorsainville at 5-0 against 11-3 Young. Well, all I know is Dorsainville's opponents have been mediocre at best, and Young's opponents, to be honest with you, are a little bit higher, but it's not a huge difference. A little bit better, but so how do you break this one down?
Well, we'll have to wait till next fight to disagree, because I'm in a similar boat with you. I think Gage Young's a UFC fighter. I'm not sure Dorsainville is, and just a little line movement, 150 to minus 175. So Gage Young, let's put a unit on him, and not incredibly confident, but he should get it done.
All right, moving on. Cuse against Barbosa. Barbosa 18-2, it looks like, against Ryan Cuse, who's 9-2, 1-0 in the LFA. Barbosa's 1-0 in the UFC. When I look at these guys, and I watched a little bit of footage on these guys, I just don't necessarily know how Barbosa loses when I really looked at him closely. What are your thoughts?
Good breakdown, brother. Yeah, this is a really interesting card to me. We have multiple fighters, at least 3, hovering right around 1,000. They're on some sports books, not there on others. This is not normal for the UFC. They're usually better matched. This looks more like an old school Bellator card where we have, I don't know, Rampage Jackson fighting the bartender from the strip club or something, and he's minus 1,500. So this is not normal for UFC, but once again, he's hovering around the minus 1,000 line. The line isn't exactly blowing up. He opened at minus 900. He did go to 1,000, then he immediately goes back to minus 900. I think people are finally starting to pick up on this minus 1,000, unless you're Mick Dak dumbass Orobai. Sorry, I meant that with love. That was an inside joke from one of the group chats I'm in. You win. They're starting to figure that out. So I think they're a little hesitant to make a minus 1,000 because then everyone's going to start dumping on them. So not quite a lock, but give me 3 units. Marcio Barbosa, don't let me down, buddy.
All right. Yeah, I like the lock, and that combined with Dyer, we might be putting together a little bit of a group bet, right?
We can at least have a 3-leg parlay of minus 1,000 favorites. Good call, sir.
Okay. All right. Moving on to Padilla against Hopperast. Nasrat Haqparast at 18-6 against Padilla, who's 17-6. I mean, they're both good on the ground. Uh, or no, sorry. I mean, they're sorry. Padilla's decent on the ground. Haqparast hasn't done well on the ground with his record, but both guys have a considerable amount of knockouts, is what I wanted to talk about more than anything. And both, the quality of opponents have been a little higher than what we've seen so far on the card.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Chris Padilla, man. He's made me a lot of money, and from his record, you can see why. This guy has not lost in the UFC. Beat Justin James, beat Lon Top, beat Ronzu, beat Jai Herbert by split, beats the not so good Bone Fiend brother. Gabriel Bone Fiend is getting close to a title shot. His brother has been cut. He whooped up Chris Padilla, who I had a huge bet on, and I was considering cashing out of, and then he just stopped fighting. He just quit middle second round, similar to the kid last week I was just talking about, who was fighting Neil Magny. And so, yeah, I mean, and then he goes to a split draw against Markel Medeiros. I like Padilla. I kind of wish he would throw more, but maybe that's part of his strategy. Like with Ismail Bonfiend, let him gas himself out, and then I'm going to start feasting. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. I think he's got a very good head on his shoulders. A decent fighting arsenal. This is a straight up pick 'em bud. -110 for both. Nasrat seems to be on the harsh decline. He got wrecked by Quinlan Salkild. That loss has aged well because Quinlan Salkild looks like he can beat just about anyone other than maybe, I don't know, that Justin Gaethje or something. But in that division, I'm going to lean Padilla, but don't want to disrespect Haqparast because he was pretty damn good at one point. I think he has something left in the tank, but Chris Padilla's stock is way up. Padilla's is way down. Give me 1 unit on Chris Padilla.
Interesting. I mean, not that it's an argument, but I'm throwing out this. Haqparast he's 4-1 in his last 5. Yes, he did get wrecked. But by a killer, a straight up killer. Got outgunned in that one. But he's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 10-5 in the UFC. That's a respectable record with a lot of fights in the UFC, considering his overall record is only 18-6. I see why the odds are the way they are. You said 110 to 110, basically.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, is it even worth it to bet on either one as close as this could be?
Yeah, so what I like to do, you can call me a degenerate, but it works for me. I like to at least have $100 bet on every fight, then I know what's going on. Sometimes, so knock on wood, because this isn't going to happen, but let's say the first few fights go rough for me. Maybe I take this fight off, clear my head. If it's going well, I'm going to put at least 100 on Padilla. Maybe I'll play with it a little bit live. Yeah, so the thing with Nasrat that I should have mentioned, the reason I had such a big bet on Quinlan Salkild against him is that the rumors coming out of Nasrat's whatever camp friends, his snakes, is that he's just not the man that he used to be, and it was no surprise to anyone that Salkild absolutely lamped him in about 30 seconds. And so it's more of an issue of there's been injuries. That's why he's taken a whole year off since getting wrecked by Salkild. I just am much more comfortable with Padilla, but it's only going to be a half unit because, as you say, it could easily go either way. And then one last thing, Pat, they're asking you in chat to turn your echo down, to turn your volume down just a little bit. Apparently I'm echoing through there, so if you can just bump your volume down just a little bit.
There you go.
Perfect.
All right. So we'll move on to the next fight. You're rolling with Nasrat, it sounds like, or wait a minute,
Padilla,
you're rolling with
Padilla.
you're rolling with Padilla. Sorry. All right. So makes sense. It does. Everything you said makes sense. All right. Moving on to Gaziev, and then he's fighting Zech. Okay. How do you pronounce the name? We should have talked
Kennedy
about this.
Nzechukwu.
Nzechukwu. All right. Nzechukwu, who's 14-6-1 versus Shamil Gaziev, who's 14-3 overall. Uh, Gaziev's opponents kind of lame, to be honest with you. For as
Hmm.
many fights as he's had, not super tough. I think his opponent Kennedy's got a little tougher road comparatively. How do you break this down?
Yeah, Kennedy's interesting. He only man to beat Carlos Ulberg, which is interesting. That was Carlos Ulberg's debut, and so he's always got that on his resume. That's certainly going to make his strength of schedule look much better. And then you got Gaziev, who was a true heavyweight. Nzechukwu moved up recently and fought a wrestler and was able to kind of stop takedowns. And then this Brazilian Jiu Jitsu heavyweight didn't have much else and still fought to a draw. So I'm going to go Gaziev just because he's a real heavyweight and Nzechukwu isn't. So give me one full unit, Shamil Gaziev. Not sure he gets a finish as the heavy. This may be a sneaky heavyweight fight goes to decision bet, but I'm going to do one unit on Gaziev now. And without even looking at the odds myself, Pat, I'm just going to throw 100. I'm going to throw a unit also on fight goes the distance. A rare heavyweight bout goes the distance bet. What do you think?
And wait a minute, you're picking who to win this?
One unit on Gaziev, one unit fight goes the distance. So two separate bets on this fight.
Okay. I'm gonna have to. Oh, boy, I tell you what. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna lean the other way, bro. I'm gonna lean the other way
Good.
just a little bit. I'm gonna go for he's the underdog, right? Kennedy's the underdog right now.
Narrowly, Gaziev is minus 135. Nzechukwu is plus 120.
All right, Nzechukwu is who I'm picking, so we'll check back on that next week. And all right, moving on to Douglas and Emmers. I've always loved Emmers. Called a few of his fights early in his career. Great guy, Jamal Emmers. He's 22-8 against Larian Douglas, who's 14-5. Uh, I mean, I don't want to bet against Emmers because I like him so much, and that's the problem, right? When I look at some of the numbers and the momentum and all the stuff that's going on, I lean towards Douglas in the numbers, of course, but maybe hearing from you might help me a little bit.
Yeah, and I just want to throw in that Nzechukwu Gaziev fight goes to decision is plus 240. So it's only going to be $100 bet for me, but that'll be a fun little tinkle in the pit of your stomach if that hits. So Larian, despite having kind of a funny first name, I think it's more of a Brazilian thing. He can fight. He's at minus 420. Shout out minus 420. I like him, man. Jamal Emmers is a dog. He's a very good, very talented fighter. I just think Larry Ann is a little above him. I don't think he deserves to be minus 420, but if he didn't, you think the line would be moving against him. It's moved slightly in his favor. He opened up at minus 390. He's minus 420 now. Yeah, give me Larry and Douglas. I'm just gonna do a unit and a half because I have a weird feeling about it, and there's not big line movement. How's that sound?
All right, buddy. I'm leaning that way as well. Although my heart tells me, I'd like to see Jamal win. I'll be honest with you.
Sure.
All right, moving on to Wint and Chapman. Wint's undefeated, 1-0 in the Contender Series, and 5-1 for Chapman. How do you break this one down?
Yeah, shout out the UFC Hall of Famer Pat Militech. We would not have talked about this fight unless Pat realized that I forgot to include it. So thank you, Pat, for doing your homework. You saved us on that one. Yeah, we got another 4-digit favorite, buddy. He opens up at minus 1,200 on FanDuel. He's minus 1,300 now. This is a 4-digit favorite I can get behind. Wash the bad taste of McTech oral buy out of your mouth. Pretty much my thing with, you would think, oh, if they win 97% of the time over the past 10 years, just put all your money on them. Well, if you did that last week, you don't have any money left. So usually with these guys, I like to, so if he's looks like the best price I can get him is minus 1,100. That means that I'll bet probably that. I'll bet 1,100, pick up the free $100 on the street. And yeah, I mean, it's a fight. Anything can happen. We saw that with Oral Buy at, I think, these exact same odds last week. I don't care. Clean slate, move on. Anthony Wint, 5 units, lock of the week. I wouldn't even mind parlaying her up, as my wonderful co-host Pat suggested, with the minus 900 Chanel Dyer. and the -900 Barbosa. A 3-leg parlay that should be about -250. So that's a fun little parlay. That'll be the Chauvin lock of the week. You're riding with me, buddy?
Yeah, I think that's about as safe a bet as you're going to find for a 3-leg parlay, right? And
Yeah,
when I
it
look
is.
at Wentz quality of opponents, even though he's heavily favored, his quality of opponents on my scale from 1 to 10 is about a 4. But when I looked at Chapman's quality of opponents, it's a straight line and then one pulse and then a straight line. So it's like they have like a pulse and they can fog a mirror
Yes.
is who he spot for the and I hate disparaging that, but the quality of opponents just have not been there. So I go with Went along with you for the lock on that winner on Went and the three-leg parlay for sure. So all right, lock it in, and I hope some people make some money off of that.
Yes, sir.
Carly Judas at 6-2 against Chavez at 7-0. The quality of opponents for both of them, one was very low and the other one was low in my notes. So one is so far undefeated, 1-0 in the UFC. The other is 3-1 in the UFC with very low quality of opponents. And tell me what the odds are in this one. Are the odds looking drastically different? Are they close? That's not the way I see it anyway.
Yeah, these freaking big female favorites are going to be the death of me, Pat. Wouldn't be the first time a woman's been the death of me. But yeah, Carly Judice, I think she freaking rolls here. She opened up at -520. She's about -620 now. That's a full 100-point move in the right direction. Yeah, I wouldn't even mind doing a female favorites parlay with her and Chanel Dyer. I like her just as much as I like Dyer. She's so freaking strong and athletic, and she's here to stay. I don't think Jesla Chavez is UFC material. I definitely think Judice is. I think this is just part of the Dana White, Hunter Campbell, Mick Maynard, whatever. Build up Judice, turn her into a contender, just like he did with Mackenzie Dern, just like he did with Jillian Robertson. They're giving her a layup here. I think she sinks it. 3 units, Carly Judice. Let's go.
Even with Chavez being undefeated, 1-0 in the UFC, 3 KOs to none, never been finished on the ground, undefeated in decisions, 5-0, well, 7-0 overall, even though she had low quality of opponents, Judice has had, in my notes again, very low quality of opponents. Am I sensing potential upset here, bro? I'm just saying.
I love it. Let's have this talk, Pat. We will embrace debate as we always do on and off air. Yeah, this is, and I don't want to sound condescending. I certainly don't want to sound sexist because I assure you I am not. I think women are far superior to men in many ways, but this is what happens. They get these women and they're fighting a waitress at Applebee's who's wearing yoga pants and a t-shirt, and they're destroying them because someone like a Pat Militech who knows what the F they're doing is coaching them and training them. That's most of the issue, I think, with these female fighters, whether they don't feel safe or comfortable at a legit MMA gym with a bunch of dudes. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of really bad female fighters out there who should not be fighting. They're doing unnecessary damage to themselves. So that's what we see. They run over these women who, no offense, shouldn't be fighting anyway, and then they get a real mother effer, and they get surprised. And they're often huge favorites because they've had a soft record. I love it. I think you make some very good points. So yeah, I get it.
Not that I mean, I just for that just for shits and giggles, I'd bet on Chavez just because she's such a big underdog. And like again, they both had very low quality of opponents. That's all I'm saying. So anyway,
you heard it here first, folks. Pat is recommending a 5-unit max bet on Jesla Chavez. Put it down, take it to the bank.
No,
is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not.
I'm just busting your balls, buddy.
All right, let's move on to Jones Medeiros. Medeiros at 11-1-1 against Jones 18-2. Medeiros undefeated in the UFC. Jones at 4-2 in the UFC. Kind of similar quality of opponents. Um, I know which way I'm leaning on this one. Tell me where you're at.
Man, I love Mason Jones, Pat, and you'll like this. Would bet I'd make it minus 1,000. This story will make you smile. Mason Jones came into the UFC, looked great, but I think after maybe only one loss, two max, he's like, I'm not ready for this. I'm going back to Cage Warriors. The UFC did not cut him. He left on his own accord. Maybe it was a money thing. Cage Warriors and the European promotions were paying him more. He went back, and all he did was win. And then he comes back, gets Jeremy Stevens, our guy. Pat has trained Jeremy Stevens in Bettendorf, Iowa. Jeremy Stevens is going to give anyone a war. Mason Jones looked great. He withstood the pressure, lit him up, did not fall into Jeremy Stevens' game, trash talk, trap. I love Mason Jones, and I think he's only going to get better. He's still very young. Marco Medeiros is a fighter, and Mason Jones opened up at minus 290, minus 300. I think there should be a little more line movement here. I would have him as a slightly higher favorite. Unit and a half, Mason Jones. Let's go, buddy.
Wow. Okay. So Medeiros undefeated in the UFC. A little lower quality of opponents between the two Medeiros, but undefeated in the UFC at 3-0, six KOs. Never been finished. Man, it's I don't know. I don't know. It's not an easy pick. I mean, I lean Jones, but when I really analyze these two, I think it's not like Medeiros doesn't have a chance. And you mentioned he is a fighter,
Mhm.
so I'll lean Jones with you a little bit, but Medeiros is still going to be potentially dangerous in this fight for Jones. So, all right, moving on to DeRitter versus Delidze. Delidze 15-5 overall. DeRitter 21-4. I mean, both guys have had a lot of bright spots in their careers. They've had some ups and downs. DeRitter, phenomenal on the ground. Delidze, a little more of a stand-up guy. What are your thoughts?
Sorry, I was choking a little bit there. This is I'm almost okay with throwing this in the parlay with all the other huge favorites. Renair de Ritter is only minus 400, I think, is the best price that you can get him at. I absolutely love him here, Pat. He did just his body shut down, which I'm sure some you can understand, Pat. His body shut down in his fight against Brendan Brendan Allen. It just his body
Mm-hmm.
shut down, and he dominated the first round. Like he beat Robert Whitaker. Man, he's the only guy to beat Bo Nickel. Like this guy is legit. Beats Kevin Holland. Made Kevin Holland look like a child who had no idea what he was doing, who had no business being inside the octagon. RDR, as we like to call him, was on a fast track to the title until the Brendan Allen debacle happened. And not really did he make excuses. Obviously, you can manipulate media if you have enough money and know the right people, but it kind of leaked in quotations that he almost died from a weight cut and still showed up for the fight. And so I'm willing to chalk that up to whatever. If this happens again and he's like, oh, I had another bad weight cut, then I'm going to be a little less likely to believe him. But this guy doesn't have a history of this. He was a great champion over in, it was either ONE FC or Risen. And then he comes to the UFC and shows he belongs. I like Roman Dolidze. He's a gatekeeper, and that's what this is. This is a gatekeeper test to see, are you the old RDR, or is the very scary thing we saw in the Brendan Allen fight, is that who you are now, and you don't need to be fighting anymore? I still believe in RDR. He opened up at minus 370. He's minus 450 now, depending on your book. Give me 3 units on RDR. I think he absolutely makes Dolidze look silly, similar to how Imavov just made Dolidze look silly. And yeah, I think he pops him at range. He can get in there and wrestle a little bit. He's going to be quicker. He's going to be more athletic. Dolidze is strong, but he's very plodding. As long as we don't have another health terrifying emergency scare, RDR rolls here.
All right. Well, I mean, I lean to Ritter definitely. Delidze, we'll see what he can get done. They're both 3-2 in their last 5 fights. I think DeRitter's had a little bit tougher, although Delizes had a tough road as well. But I'll roll with you on DeRitter. I'm leaning towards him as well. All right, moving on to Sergey Spivak against Vitor Petrino. Petrino, 14-2 overall, really solid record, 7-2 in the UFC against Sergey Spivak, who's 18-6, 9-6 in the UFC. Who's favored and why?
Yeah, and I just gotta say real quick, two things. Please, since our wonderful producer Lee is remote and kind of there, kind of not, he will definitely get this fixed. We have the best producer in the world. He just has a full-time job and a freaking life. So this will all be fine. I will say that I have been told in the chat that our sound quality is much better, and please do not let me forget to answer live questions because I think we have a few. Moving on. Sergey Spivak,
All right.
Vitor Petrino. Spivak, this is, I think, my first underdog pick of the day, Pat. Vitor Petrino has gone from minus 170 to minus 150. I like Spivak. Spivak's only weakness is he's a little chinny. As long as he doesn't, quote unquote, die, he's gonna hurt you. He can strike, he can really wrestle. Made Derek Lewis look like an amateur, has made a lot of guys look amateur, made Greg Hardy look awful. In his last fight, who did he fought? I think it was the kid, not really a kid, the Eastern European from PFL. I'll think of that name in a second. Beat him, but did get dropped. So he dominates the first round, was doing well in the second, crazy, gets dropped, and then comes back, wins the third easily. I like Spivak plus 130. He is my first and I think only underdog pick of the week. Are you riding with me on the small underdog Sergey Spivak, or do you like the minus 150 favorite Vitor Petrino?
Bro, I am leaning towards Petrino, to be honest with you. I am.
Tell me
I
why.
think that, well, look, I think Spivak's better on the ground, but I think Petrino does edge him out standing up. And Petrino's done really well in decision. So if it does go to the decision, I lean toward, like, mathematically, he's got the advantage in terms of the striking, just by the numbers. Look, Spivak's been finished standing 4 times. Petrino once, where Spivak's got 8 finishes on the ground and not been finished there, and Petrino's rolling the dice kind of there at 2-1. The math tells me if you take the standing and you take the decision wins, mathematically, the odds lean towards Petrino. I think Spivak's got a little bit of a problem here. Could be finished. And it's it's not like Spivak's lighting it up. He's 2-3 in his last 5. I got to go with Petrino. I got to lean towards Petrino just a little bit.
I like it, and I will throw out that you said he had, I think, 3 KO losses. That could easily have been 4 because Ante Delia dropped his ass in that second round, and I think shows a lot of heart and growth from Spivak that he even survived that. I think it was Bisping. I love Bisping. I would love to hang out with him sometime, shake his hand, whatever. No problem with him. But even Bisping's like, it's over. It's over. It wasn't over, man. Good on Spivak showing the growth. You make some great points. Pat and I think, disagree on 2 fights so far. That makes it fun. We'll see who wins, right?
Beautiful. I love it. All right, moving on
Yes,
to the
sir.
main event. And for anybody out there, between Hernandez and Rodrigues, pick the winner, pick the way it ends, pick the round, and we want to send you some cell saviors and some Diamine clothing. So also make sure that you like MMA Mobsters on social media. Go to our YouTube page, like, subscribe, share, comment, help us out, get the word out. We're having a lot of fun here and we're doing really well.
Yes.
So, all right, Hernandez versus Rodrigues. I've always liked Hernandez a lot. I've called some of his fights back in the day. 15-3 overall, 19-6 for Rodrigues. The odds, I'm guessing on these two, because the quality of opponents fairly close. They're both 4-1 their last 5 fights. Both tough guys, both good striking, both decent on the ground, of course. Where do you lean?
And I just want to, sorry, I don't mean to jump back and forth, but I think it's important to say, when did Anthony Hernandez never look better? When he absolutely ripped apart Roman Dolidze, striking and then primarily just chain wrestling, manhandling him for 4 rounds until he finally choked him out standing. I think that's what RDR is going to do to Dolidze. So just keep that in mind. That's why I love RDR so much. Yeah, our boy Strickland may have broke Fluffy. That seems to be what some people think, that he will never be the same after what Sean Strickland did to him. I will say that that loss has aged well, because our boy Sean Strickland, the great white hope as he calls himself, beat the unbeatable, the invincible Jesus Christ Kamzat Chimaev. Split decision, he still beat him. So that loss isn't too embarrassing. Listen, man, it just depends on which Anthony Fluffy Hernandez we are getting here. Gregory Rodrigues can thump. He can absolutely thump. He absolutely put Jack Hermanson on a poster in his last fight. And Jack Hermanson is another guy who can strike a little, but really wants to get the fight to the ground. That's what Fluffy is. I'm really, really struggling with this fight. I'm going to do something I almost never do. I want to get your pick first, Pat, and then I'm going to make mine for the main event.
I'm looking again. I've watched both of these guys. Hernandez, yeah, depending on which Hernandez shows up, he can be hell on wheels. The it's with 9 submission finishes on the ground by Hernandez. It's not like he has the edge, because Rodrigues has never been finished there. He's got 4 finishes himself on the ground, and Rodrigues has got 11 KO wins, but he's also been finished 4 times standing. Hernandez is 3-2, so he's kind of rolling the dice there. I think the combined with Rodrigues' ability to bang standing up is his big goose egg in terms of being finished on the ground negates a lot of what Hernandez does, because I've watched both of their skill sets. I mean, I'm leaning towards Rodrigues. I really am.
You know what, Pat? I'm going to agree with you. It's going to be a half unit. So I thought I only like one dog on this card. I just it's all about, you got to be careful. You can't just fade a guy because he lost his last fight and cost you money. I'm not saying that's what you're doing. I'm saying that's what a lot of casual bettors do. I don't think that's what I'm doing here. I think it's, yes, I'm a little worried about where's Anthony Hernandez at, but RoboCop, as they call him, Gregory Rodrigues, has never looked better. I'm going to do the same thing. I will put half a unit plus 170. That means you would turn $100 into $270. So it's almost triple your money. And I will play the Soil Saviors game. I'm going to say, just like Sean Strickland did, Gregory Rodrigues will finish Fluffy in the 3rd round.
Third round finish.
By
Nice.
knockout.
I like it.
By
Okay.
knockout.
Okay. All right. Beautiful. All right. I'm rolling with Rodrigues. I'm going to go with a 5th round KO
Let's
by
go.
Rodrigues. And there you go. And what's the odds on the on Rodrigues?
Oh,
finishing
sorry,
by
I
KO?
buried the lead there, brother. Yeah, I'll give you the line movement and everything, champ. We got Fluffy opened up at minus 185. Depending on your, he's like minus 200 on Caesars, but I think the line movement is sharper on FanDuel and Pinnacle. So on FanDuel, he hasn't budged. Opened up at minus 185. He's minus 188 now. I think that tells the story that most pro sports bettors are right where we're at. They don't know what the frick to do with this fight, and I think that makes it very interesting.
I think we know where we're at. We're not casual
Yes,
bettors.
sir.
And I'm not even a bettor. I am casually dressed, but ultimately, all right. You've got Rodrigues winning 3rd round KO. I've got him 5th round KO. We need to remember this for next week. See where we come out, who won, who lost, and if we both lost potentially, because Hernandez is a dangerous guy. But to pick your winner, pick your round, pick the way it ends, and we can send you some free cell saviors and diamond clothing. And make sure that you like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel and our social media as well. Help us out a little bit. Give us some love. Josh, anything you have in closing while you're still healing up and making gains?
Yes, sir. Yeah, a couple things. I just wanted to say we've only had one person win the contest, and he won twice. So shout out Mark Mueller. He's a Bettendorf, Iowa guy, just like you, me, and our producer. Shout out Mark Mueller. He is our Soil Saviors reigning champion, if I may say. He is the only one who has won. He's won twice. So come on, Costin, come on, Hamzamir, come on, Jay Stern. Let's get or just someone that we don't even know of. Let's get a new winner this week. Predict the fight in the
There you go.
comments and we'll get you some swag. Secondly,
There
we
you
have a
go.
few questions, Pat. I'm going to ask you a few questions and then we're going to sign off. Is that okay, buddy?
Yeah.
Live questions from our fans in chat.
Okay.
All right.
I was looking. I
Jurston.
can't see them. I can't even see them.
I can. I got him. This one's for you, Pat. The next one's for me. It sounds like Dakota Ditcheva broke her hand again fighting. Do you think it hinders her fighting career, Pat? She is still in PFL / MVP for now. She has not fought since Jake Paul bought PFL, Jake Paul and his crew. And there's some question. Will the UFC try to buy out her contract? The UFC wants her. I'll even make this my question. I'm sure her hand will be fine. Let's get your take on that. Do you think Dakota ever fights in PFL / MVP again, or is it time for the UFC?
Well, it depends on who's going to pay her, right? I think that's really what it comes down to. We'll see. We'll see who throws the money at her, and that will decide. A lot of unanswered stuff with MVP and PFL, that merger. We'll see what kind of product they come up with, to be honest with you. And then, yeah, so the UFC, that's where everybody always ends up wanting to be, right? Coker ramping up a new organization, I think that's going to shake things up a great deal. Coker is the real player. Coker is an amazing promoter. Did an incredible job building Strikeforce. The investors sold it out from under him to the UFC when he had built, the welterweight division, the light heavyweight division, the heavyweight division. I mean, a lot of the guys from Strikeforce, when Coker was in charge, that got moved into the UFC, went in and knocked the shit out of people and won titles and did real damage. Coker knows how to do it. So watch out for Coker.
Yes.
That's the guy that you want to be paying attention to right now. But we'll see what happens with MVP and PFL. Right now, in my humble opinion, they don't have a leader, like a real leader, an industry leader with a lot of experience and wearing a lot of different hats. And that's something that they're kind of lacking, to be honest with you. So remains to be seen. So we'll see.
And I was going to follow up on that real quick, and then one more question, and then we will say good afternoon. The fighters do not respect Jake Paul, especially the big ego fighters. When Francis Ngannou fought on the PFL card, it was very awkward, and you can even go back on Netflix and watch it unless they edited it out of embarrassment. Jake Paul, who him and his crew own MVP and now PFL, Jake Paul got in there and tried to interview him and be like, fight me next. And Ngannou said, get this fucking idiot out of here. Like, zero respect for him. So, yeah, they need a clear leader. And as much as I respect Jake Paul more than most, it ain't Jake Paul. He's got to grow up more. They're not going to follow a 27-year-old kid or whatever he is. So,
well, I mean, look, I'll say this. Jake Paul and his brother have done an amazing job generating massive amounts of attention, making money. They are good athletes. No matter what anybody says, they are good athletes. And they're obviously connected and intelligent enough to make, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. So I'm never going to knock them for that. I would just say, I have to, as a coach, potentially know my role, as a fighter, know my role, as a promoter, know my role, all these different places or whatever hat I'm wearing, I gotta kind of stick to that. So that's the only thing. Stick to the hat you're wearing at the time, and that would be probably the best approach anyway. So it doesn't come off canned and disingenuous and things like that. That's probably it. But I know somebody had a question for you, Josh.
Yeah, and well said, Pat. This is despite a couple issues of me over in Dagestan with no video. This has been a really fun show. Thank you. One question for me, one question for you, then we say goodbye. All right, Joshua, how did you get started on the path to being a sports betting professional? Yeah, it's a good question, and I know I've got a few buddies in some DFS chats watching right now. Shout out to them. That's what I started out doing. DFS is daily fantasy sports. That was a loophole because sports betting was not legal in this country 10 years ago. And I'd say in 2013, it was 2013, it was fall of 2013, I started playing DFS and I was pretty damn good at it. I've always been good at math. It's real. I mean, people think, oh, I watch sports, therefore I'll be good at sports betting. I mean, it helps, but it can often be more of a hindrance because the math often tells a very different story than what your heart does. And you have to be willing to respect the math, because if you don't respect the math will make you respect it. So I learned, we call it going to college in the sports betting community. I took a lot of losses, and you can sit in a class all day, Pat, and learn about sports betting. Trust me, if you lose $3,000 in one night, that is a lesson you will never freaking forget. And that's what going to college is. You take hard losses, and then you never make that freaking mistake again. I'm trying to watch my language, buddy. Okay. So in 2020, kind of, right in the middle of COVID, it was fall of COVID 2020. I had about 10 grand and I couldn't sports bet in Minnesota. Now I kind of can, and it's all legal, trust me, but there was nothing other than DFS. And I'm doing MMA DFS, and what it is, Pat, you pick a lineup of 6 fighters, and they're all these imaginary prices, like our huge favorites, like Chanel Dyer and others like Barbosa. They're going to be a massive amount of money. And then the underdogs are going to be cheap. So you have to get them in a salary cap. You can't play whoever you want. You have to, it's almost like a puzzle you have to solve. And I would be having 4 or 5 fighters win that I knew I was going to win, but the 2 cheapies I had to fit in there lost. And I'm either not making any money or barely making any money. And I was like, if I could sports bet, I knew these 3 guys were going to win. I would stake my reputation on these 3 guys are going to win. I need to get to a legal sports betting state because I know I can do this. And a lot of people say, I don't want to sound arrogant, but this is a massive pet peeve for me. A lot of people say, oh, I could do what you do. Then fucking do it, dude, because it's hard. And it takes so many different angles and so many different advantages. And I learn different things every day. You have to be humble, because if you aren't, this game will humble you. And I'm so blessed to do it. I'm learning every day. That's that. Last question for you, Pat. What does a liver kick feel like? And then you can hit the sign off. Great fucking show, dude. Great show.
I think we talked about this, but it feels like you got stabbed in the side with a really dull giant buck knife.
Oh my God.
And and then stomped on by an elephant that just completely knocked the wind out of you, and is standing on you, so you can't, because it locks up your diaphragm.
Yes.
When your diaphragm gets locked up, you can't then inhale. You're stuck there with no air, all gone out of your lungs, and you have a tough time inhaling until the nervous spasms in the diaphragm and the breathing muscles, quit, and slow down, and then you can start breathing again a little bit at a time. But it's far, far more painful than any punch or kick I've ever received in the head or anything like that. So yeah, just guard your liver. Don't get hit there. Trust me.
Well said.
All right.
All right.
Okay. All right. So for Joshua Chauvin, glad he's making the mend and getting stronger. He's on the mend. And I'm Pat Miletich for Joshua Chauvin. Good luck in all your betting or your viewing. Enjoy it, and eat some hot wings for me. This is Pat Miletich signing out.
Great show, Pat.
All right. How do we stop recording?
Lee said that he can hear us, but we can't hear him. I would just, if you can hang on for 2 seconds, and I will make sure that Lee is letting us leave. I'm very proud of you, Pat. Thank you for, you